Hey, what's up, AfterBuzzers and Reign superstars? We have an extravaganza for you today. We got some special guests, a surprise or two, so get your wine, get your Coke, get your coffee, whatever you do. Stick around, keep it locked right here.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I feel like we haven't heard that. We heard it this past episode.
We heard it
today.
And I was so excited. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm your host, Alina Vission. You can follow me on all social media at Alina Vission. And we're joined with Keetin Marchi.
Hi, you guys. I am so excited to be back. I feel like it's been way too long, but as you guys all know, my name is Keetin Marchi, and you can follow me all over the interwebs at Keetin Marchi, because I'm keeping it simple. But let's talk about who we all really want to talk about right now. Who's sitting next to me? Please, the Queen is in the building!
Queen and director.
Yes,
right.
Queen and director, all around, like, female badass.
Nice.
Love it.
Nice.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Megan.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Where can we follow you on social media? Because I know you just tweeted a couple pictures.
I did at Meg_follows. I'm on Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. And we got a writer.
One of the amazing
Yes,
writers.
one of the amazing writers. We're super happy to have you. What's
Thank
up,
you.
Drew Lindo?
Hi, it's nice to be here. I'm a fan of what you guys have been doing since season 1. You guys are amazing. And we're
Thank
just so
you.
happy to be here.
Yeah, we thank you for the support.
Yeah.
We love you guys. And funny story, viewers, Drew and I did dinner like during season 1 because
Yes.
we have a mutual friend, and he's like, "Oh, you like Reign? Like, I know one of the writers." And I said you should come on the show, but at the time, like, it wasn't. Like, we really
I
couldn't do
essentially
it.
said to you, no one wants to hear the writers talk. Get actors on the show. And I was right. I was right. The only reason I'm here is because I'm sitting next to the MVP, super secret weapon of the show. And that's why I'm here.
Yes.
True.
We love writers who think like that.
And we do have a surprise special guest will be joining us very shortly.
Yes.
So just stay tuned and
Stay
see
tuned,
who
stick
that
around.
is.
But if you've noticed, we're missing our favorite guy.
I know.
Phil's not in with us today, and he's super bummed he couldn't make it, and he actually wrote a letter. So Keaton's going to read it for you guys.
I will read Phil's letter. Dear Reign fans, I was so torn about today because I really wanted to be here with you all for this special day, but unfortunately, timing is as such that I couldn't make it. In spite of which this is intended, it wasn't so much about finally being able to meet the writers Drew and Wendy or our Queen Catherine. Instead, it's that I feel like I'm missing the ability to participate in this momentous day for us Reign fans. We have watched the show and loved the show so much, and today's after show will surely be a treat for us. However, there's times in life that are beyond you and things you must do. That is what I'm doing. I wish I could provide more detail, and perhaps when I return I will. But that'll have to suffice for now. Keetin and Alina will do an amazing job leading us in this discussion, and I can't wait to listen. So let's begin, and let me at least start it off by stating, Drew, Wendy, and Megan, in the most sincerest way imaginable, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you on the after show. Thank you for taking the time. It means a lot, not only to me, Alina and Keetin, but AfterBuzz, but of course all of our fans as well. So thank you guys, and thank you, Phil, for writing that wonderful.
That's so sweet. And
letter.
by the way, Phil should not feel bad because my partner, co-writer on the show, Wendy Riss, is supposed to show up today too. This is an empty chair, so Phil and Wendy both had things come up and they couldn't be here, so it's okay.
Such is life. Life happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Life does happen.
Exactly. But he'll be here with us in spirit, and so will Wendy.
Yes.
So let's start off. Let's break this down. We're going to start off in Scotland, but first, I want to talk to the director of the episode.
Director in the house.
Exactly. So, what was your favorite part about directing the show?
Oh, wow. Getting to have my vision of how I saw something come to fruition, if that makes sense. The first one was like telling people what to do. That's always good. But, you have to be careful with that one. But honestly, really, I loved it. I loved being able to put a movement of a camera and the feeling of a camera to the feeling of an emotion of a character in the story.
I really noticed that in this
Yes,
episode.
so
I
did
felt
I.
like there was a lot of camera movement, but it was so beautiful. I feel like you guys have such cool spaces and such wonderful kind of visuals, and so I really liked seeing the camera moving as well as with the characters and stuff, which I don't feel like a lot of the episodes have been very what is it? What is the word? I'm like, I don't know. Just a lot. I feel like a lot of the episodes the camera's more still, so I really noticed that choice.
Good. Thank
There was
you.
a lot of hand camera, I noticed too, especially during the fight scene.
Handheld,
Right. Yeah, with
loved
the
it.
assassination attempt on Darnley.
Yeah.
I think it really suited this one too because there's a wild, frenetic energy to the Mary Darnley story. So I think Megan was really tapping into getting that sensation and of that energy that was so, frenetic.
Especially in that one scene in particular where she's kind of like, she gets freaked out after it starts getting more passionate between it. The camera was just like, jing, jing, jing.
Yes.
And you're like getting a little, like feeling a little like of the pressure that you feel Mary's feeling, and then all of a sudden she like kind of is like, no, I can't, and the camera's like, ching.
Oh,
It's like,
good. Yeah.
props.
Thank
Very
you.
much
Yes,
props.
That's what's so exciting, I have to say, when you being on this side of it too, because as an actor, you know those things, and I mean, it all starts with the writing, and I'm not just blowing smoke, but it's true. You have to have the writing and the good, strong writing, and then you have a story. You have what you're striving for, and then the actors want to come in, and you just really want to fulfill on that. You want to know what you're doing, and then really for me, as I said, being on the other side, because I'm also acting in the episode as well, which was really fun too. But so you're having to think both subjectively and objectively on about what you're fighting for as the character, what each individual character wants, but how that character is serving what their note is in the score and the larger score of the piece. That to me is really exciting.
I noticed that Catherine didn't have as much airtime as she normally does. Now, was that?
That's so weird.
She was so
I
busy.
didn't think about that till you brought it up.
That was a specific thing, right? That was written in.
Yes,
so that,
it was.
yes.
And in fact, the episode before, because I could see that some fans were not so happy, because I think I got knocked down on the last one.
Oh, I know, your son threw
going
you
through some
down.
hell in that castle. Let's just say Catherine has been, she's been getting slugged around a little bit. But that's because she was out prepping for her episode. So you have to, in fact, the prep week before you shoot is almost more, you need more of your time. To be out there picking locations, going through sets, costumes every moment, having tone notes, concept meetings, and all of those delicious things.
And was the directing, did you bring it to kind of the producers like, hey, I want to direct an episode? Or were they like, okay.
No, I did. And I did it very early on. In fact, I went right to Frank Siracusa, who was our Canadian executive producer with John Weber. And I went and I said, I want to direct an episode of Reign. And he said, well, go and direct something first. And I directed a play that I was doing. So I was actually doing Reign the first season and directing. So I was working 7 days a week. And the production was very kind because I was working then. They'd sort of fit me, and I'd maybe do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or on Reign, or Monday, Tuesday. And then I was working right through the weekend directing this play that I had done, and then I shadowed in the second season, and I got my break in the third season. So,
Bruises That Lie for the fans out
Yeah.
there. Episode 3 to 10, I think it was.
Yeah, it was episode 310, written by PK Simmons, and it was called Bruises That Lie, and that's where Claude was married off. To Duke Boinel, I believe, and then she punched him in the. He slapped her,
Yes.
And
remember?
she was like,
and then she
like,
just went pow, and she
Yeah.
punched him.
Yeah.
So that was a great episode.
I
too.
love your relationship with Claude.
Yeah.
I think you two on screen, it's this relationship and your story has kind of grown so much, and I really, really love that mother-daughter because it just seems so real and it seems so relatable, I feel like, to girls today, even though it's like set, way back when, but just kind of like that fight that you have with your mother, but then also you like not only that fight, but then, okay, my mom is the one who's really looking out for me and seeing her kind of realize that. And then now that her older sister's coming in and oh my God.
Well, now we have a
She comes in
mutual
hot.
enemy.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Whenever
So it sort of takes a little heat off. Catherine's at least sort of in Claude's good books. But speaking of Bruises That Lie, I mean, Catherine sets her up for something. Which
Oh,
was terrible
gosh, I
because-
know.
Which the fans just instantly forgave, by the way.
I
They
know.
were
I
like,
get
well,
forgiven a lot. which is
yeah, she can literally do
do.
that. She's killed more people on the show than
gotten
any.
away with murder on
anyone.
that show. Actually, I really.
It's true.
So Drew, here's a question for you, going back to that, because Catherine is just one of those characters that, like, one episode you're just like, oh, you can't stand her, and then the other you just love her. And I mean, the show is just driven by her. How, as a writer, do you guys like figure out and write that in to make her like a lovable character that like?
Well, what's interesting about this season is that for the first time we have 3 countries and 3 courts
Right.
operating simultaneously, and it boggles my mind that in the first season we were all in one court, one country, and now it's
Wow.
literally almost 3 different shows
Yeah.
happening simultaneously, and so that means you have 3 different leads essentially.
Right.
So what's exciting for us this season is Laurie McCarthy, our the show's creator and our showrunner. She'd always talked about wanting to do sort of a spin-off of the Medici court and the Valois, and you're kind of watching that this season. And so for us, I mean, Catherine is the hero or anti-hero, depending on how you want to describe her, of the France storyline. So that means you have to give her incredible obstacles and problems to deal with. And I think that the decision to bring Lisa in this year was to give her an antagonist who she couldn't just poison and murder because she's her blood,
Right.
Yeah.
but who also
Because
knows
ultimately
her.
she's very because the character is so great because ultimately she's loyal to family.
Yeah.
Right.
So even Henry in the first season, who does terrible things to his wife,
Yeah.
you know, every now and then they still hook up and they
Yeah.
get together.
Yeah.
Family is family.
Passion.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
Family is family. So
And it's fun too. 'Cause-
Family, family.
And then this season also Lisa, because she knows her mother. It's funny because there was even a scene I think in the premiere where Catherine does one of her famous murder-suicides.
Yeah.
You know, and Lisa's just like, I know you. Didn't, like this is not real. And it's funny because in season 1 we saw that work so well, but when you put her up against someone who grew up with her under her
Right.
roof.
Wasn't with that with the Prince of Spain? Like she's
Yeah.
just like he's crazy for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mom.
yeah.
Like something happened to him when he came here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she's got, and then that's fun because she's also power hungry because she's a chip off from the
Yeah.
block.
The apple
So-
doesn't fall far from the
Exactly.
tree.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. All right, well, let's get into the actual episode. Starting off in Scotland, we see Ambassador Richards come in, and yeah, he has a message for Darnley and Mary. That Darnley needs to go back to London, as per Elizabeth.
Mary's like, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. I loved seeing just them react to each other in that scene, and how now they're playing off each other. Now they're like becoming a couple.
Right.
Yeah.
How Mary and Darnley are they're a force. It's she has an ally to be up for her against England.
Right.
And I also I'm a big shout out to Will Kemp who plays Darnley
Yes.
because he is such a fun character right away because he also is a bit of an anti-hero as well.
Right.
He's just Darnley is deliciously arrogant, and it's it's his comeuppance. So it's the thing that it blindsides him, and yet and it's sort of delicious. But he plays it with such ownership, and he seduces Mary with it. And Mary's not easily won by fools. She doesn't
Yeah.
suffer fools.
Yeah.
So
gladly.
well,
Speaking
speaking of fools.
Oh, wait a minute. What's happening?
What is happening?
You can have a seat right
We
here.
have a surprise guest.
Surprise guest, everybody! Jonathan Keltz!
Hi, how you guys doing? How you doing? Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks for
Hi,
having me.
Megan Follows.
Jonathan Keltz. Huge fan.
Welcome
nice
back.
to
It's
see
so
you
nice to
again.
see you again.
Alina.
Jonathan, nice to meet you.
Sorry.
Yes. Here we are.
What's up, guys?
Yes.
Gosh.
So what did I miss?
Like I said, extravaganza.
We're just talking about Darnley.
Oh,
Darn
he's handsome.
Just how they were up. They're a good pairing. Mary and Darnley, you just see this sort of that his own arrogance in that scene with Ambassador
Yeah.
Richards, and that was really fun to play. And they're also on horses. I will also say it was almost 40 degrees Fahrenheit when we shot that scene. So it was
Great time for a water fight.
Yeah, exactly.
It was so hot and crazy, and those horses like to keep. But I loved having them on it and having the movement, which is great. And both, Addie and Will were on those animals so beautifully, and just kind of he just exudes kind of this power that seduces Mary, and it's fun to see that he's able to put his nose up to the English.
Absolutely.
And does it unapologetically. And I think for her, she's been having to do so much of our show sort of in fear of things. She's been afraid of who's going to take something from her. So and and then lost the love of her life, Francis, and all of a sudden here's a guy who's basically the cock of the walk. Basically, it's like, I don't give a
and maybe not somebody that she's settling for, you know, and
yeah,
that's
I mean,
the
and
thing.
she's
And
making
for
him
the
work
safety
for
of
it,
it. It's
too.
not, it's, you know, it might be just what she needs at this
well,
moment.
that's why it's sort of interesting
Yeah.
because she needs that boost of that show of power.
It's a perfect time too, because what's really exciting was exciting for us for season 4 was that for 3 seasons Mary's like, I'm not a threat to England, I'm not a threat to Elizabeth, I don't want her throne. And the minute Lola died, that all changed. And so
Well,
this
and
season
for
for her,
her swell, so
yes.
I mean, you have to avenge her.
you have to avenge her, and also just that idea that like there is no. The Game of Thrones is on essentially on our show. There's no
So true.
white flag. So to have a character like Darnley who's like, let's go get it. Is excited. It brings something out in Mary that's like she's unleashed this season, and it's fun to see them kind of channel
like
energy
it.
together.
Can I just
Absolutely.
beg the producers or the editors, can we not see Lola get, like, I feel like every episode at the beginning when they're like,
The previous
last time,
one?
on the previous, like on Reign, we see that moment before Lola gets beheaded, and every time I'm like, oh no, I don't want to remember this
Not
anymore,
ready.
guys.
It's just such a strong motivator.
It
Trigger
is.
warning should be up before
Yeah,
that. Sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the character of Darnley. Just like you said, he's just arrogant, and it's bringing kind of that out in Mary. She's like grabbing the bull by the balls.
Queen swag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
And he's unpredictable too, which is what
Exactly.
makes it dangerous for her as a character because and as we saw at the end of 406 when all of a sudden it's like, what is he really up to? What's he gonna do, that guy?
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of that, I wanted to ask you as a writer, there's been so many times that I've noticed recently that we kind of cut to James, like in The Office, you cut to Jim. So you get like James's reaction to Darnley, like, and like that's what the audience is thinking, because we're just like, wait, this seems like really like ironic that happened. Is that written in that you're doing these cuts to get these
is that a
reactions, or is that
director?
the director that?
Well, she's directing it when it's being shot, and then the editors are choosing when to go to those
Right.
shots. And it's tricky because it's funny is the people watching the show, a lot of them have Wikipedia'd all of the events that are supposed to take place. So it's hard to say too much about James and Darnley, only that they're both very complex characters. They both have different motives working at the same time, and it's exciting to see who's going to be proven right or wrong one episode to the next. So.
But it was fun too because Dan is a wonderful the actor who plays James, and he and Addie work so well together.
Yeah.
So finally, Mary's back in a court where she actually has family,
Yeah.
but of course it's already complicated because his power is being usurped, and ultimately our show always comes back to this theme of what the women have to do to maintain their power, and that it's never just assumed that it's a natural thing for women to be in this position.
Well,
of
and
power.
just because she's queen, or
Right.
and same for you.
But
and so on and
even
so
if
forth.
she is, even Elizabeth, who is queen, she's always being threatened by the male, the hierarchy, the patriarchy around here. So there's Mary and her at home with her brother. But I did love, but he's very possessive of her, and I just loved that it was fun to play those two guys, against each other, with Mary sort of always in relationship. So I did want to keep him very much alive because I just think he's a very interesting character because he's being usurped by a female, his sister.
Right.
I feel like
Exactly.
the show is like the king of love triangles. When I say like
love
there are
triangles
so
going
many and they just kind of start to overlap, and like I would love for somebody to drop fans out there listening right
Oh
now.
my God.
Can you just draw me a
Venn
love
diagram?
triangle
Yes,
Venn
yes.
diagram so I can see from season 1 where everybody has gone, who has slept with who.
Yeah. Speaking of triangles,
Yeah, who are Eskimo brothers?
Get to that.
No.
Should we go to France last or England? We'll do. You're here. Let's go to France.
Go to France.
Yeah.
Tell us about this love triangle. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's a love triangle that Leith certainly has been caught in a number of them,
Yes.
and they never quite seem to work out so well for him. And I think that
Why look at me? Look at me.
They're in the writer's room, they're just like, oh, let Leith lose again.
No,
He'll get over it.
well, I think that Leith is somebody who across all the seasons we've been watching his rise, and it's a rise that was so much for the women in his life, and it was something that he was trying to change himself for them, and I think the realization was that changing himself for somebody else, was poisoning himself and was changing who he was, and he didn't like that, and he didn't want that for himself, and so he decided to sort of try and force himself out of the equation and use the leverage that he had to sort of escape and create his own life and maybe sort of escape all of the dynamics and intrigue of court.
French court is a sinister place.
Yes.
You have to be a true gangster to survive.
You
right?
You gotta be a gangster.
You gotta
The
be
OG right here.
And Leith has always been a pure of heart character, and that's why we loved him, is that he was that honorable guy. And what I love about the episode and the way it's performed and directed is that you really do wonder in that moment, is he willing to let a good man die to get what he wants? And what's great is that, he could have wound up with Claude that episode if he had done that, but we wouldn't love him anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
I thought he was dead. I was
thought
like,
so
he's
too.
like, Luke's gone.
He's so nice. So, I mean, in a way, it's tragic, and yet I do think on some level it's a little bit... There's a bittersweet empowerment to it at the same time, because he makes his own choice. Usually he's waiting, is Greer going to choose him or not? And she chooses Peppercorn. And, this time it was, I think what's powerful...
Who the hell chooses Leith? Peppercorn or
Leith?
Okay.
But if you think about it, there was also, all these triangles. Leith was sort of always up against these greater than thou odds. That choice was choosing Leith, or in her mind, choosing her family. And then once we were sort of up against it again, it was either choosing Leith or choosing herself and her own independence. And I made a case and I put my best foot forward, but she chose herself. And then I think Leith sort of had to make that same choice for himself at the end of it all, in terms of choosing Claude, choosing this kind of either choosing to leave Luke to die or choosing that life of being in that triangle. And I just think he couldn't
option C,
couldn't
but option C is interesting. Option C is I'm not going to let a good man die, but I'm also not going to sit here and be corroded by this pain.
But I do love that line that you wrote for Narcisse about to say to Leith, look how far you've come. Rising in station, trading your heart to rise in station.
Well, that's
nicely done.
Thank you.
That was
the
great line.
And that was the last scene I shot.
That's
Now,
right.
okay.
And Narcisse just looking at you.
I have questions because
I have as many answers as I can.
So all I have to say is,
I'll just go back.
Surprisingly now, no, the director writer can talk about it. Surprisingly now, just so happens Greer just got left.
Yes.
Oh, that's nice. And remember Hostradamus, who I call him Hostradamus because back then I thought he was so hot back in the day. So one of his first kind of premonitions was that you and Greer would end up, because you had the flower on your face, whatever.
I was the man with the white mark.
Yes, the man with the white mark, and now somehow you're both finding, you might be in Scotland or whatever.
So the purpose of that prophecy, although who knows the truth, of where it led to the others, but was mainly about, Ailey and proving that his prophecies had truth, to ground Catherine's motivation in believing that her son's life was in jeopardy, Who knows if there is a man with the white mark in Greer's future, or if, the fan stories beyond take this up, but we will not see Greer and Leith reunite by the end of season 4.
This breaks my heart. I'm done.
It's just so sad because he never gets the girl, when he's in love.
Well,
But you know what? I have to say, I actually really like that about our show.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's what's it's more reflective. Sadly, sorry guys, about reality in this, that there are winners and losers, and our show was set up that way. In fact, the lead character of our show, we already know, is on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
Right.
That is just the whole.
Yeah.
What's so fascinating to me, that this show took off, that they rolled the dice, and this wasn't a story about young Elizabeth.
Right.
And her thing,
Yeah,
and coming to power. It was about the person who could have been something, and who's on. We end up knowing on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
That is, and there's so much interesting drama, and there's so much love and support for
Absolutely.
for Mary and for different characters, because they make, whether they're however they go down, and some of them go down hard.
Yeah.
But Leith actually grows up in a very painful way, but he gets some money out of it. Like he has to negotiate something to actually protect himself in a way that gives him something, and that's kind of fascinating. I think.
Yeah.
And he's still alive too. I mean,
He's
you know,
which is an
a
accomplishment.
lot of
on this show,
characters.
you know?
He's so lucky.
I survived.
Many didn't. So.
And I think that there's also, you know, I love that, you know, he takes the lands that Narcisse had taken from him back, you know,
Yeah,
and,
they
and
were
that was
his.
where he had made,
Right.
you know, he had made a home for himself there, and that was sort of where he was looking to start his life, you know, without Greer the last time, and sort of that was robbed from him, you know, and I think that there's a nice sort of homage to his relationship with Francis there, and that connection to that relationship and that friendship, you know, and I think, you know, he's gonna be okay, I think.
Well, Leith is gone,
He
unless
started
we're
a
Jon
nice
Snowing
wine.
us.
The Coppola vineyard.
Yeah, well, yeah. This is he will not Jon Snow again.
You're not
for
Jon
the-
Snowing us right
again.
now.
No, I did that just the once.
swear,
I bled out
Jon
of the snow.
Snow us. Jon Snow us one more time.
No, you know, Leith has gone on into his next life. Yeah.
He's riding off into the sunset.
But what a send off too. I mean,
Yeah.
the way that Megan directed that sequence in the courtyard is just.
Yeah.
I mean that I think it's some of the best work I've seen Jonathan do on the show, and
you.
just that shot you do with the portcullis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was again such a testament to our extraordinary art department, our set design, those incredible spaces. I mean, to be able to do a scene where. In 3:10, I had a moment with Claude and Leith when she was having to go off to marry Buonel, and she was in the carriage,
And she was the one
I sort of
leaving,
in my
yeah.
mind I always sort of saw that as sort of that it's the railway station, it's that iconic image of being on the train and the other person having to watch go, and so now we're in a carriage, so I was able to do that, have movement, and have them be these ships passing.
Yeah.
But again, it's sort of like every great Western or big moment, you know, to get a man on a horse. You know, and to have, but instead of him riding away from us, he's coming towards us, and that is sort of important too, because he's actually going somewhere. Like we're with him, and then he passes us, and she's the one who's stuck behind bars.
Right.
So he's actually free.
That's
saying that.
so beautifully put.
Escape
Come
from
on.
prison, of course.
Yeah.
That's
how I saw it.
That's so true.
That's how I saw it. That's what I wanted to do for you, my friend.
That's so good. That's
Thank
great.
you. No.
So getting back to you being the director of this episode, I think you just touched on this. We did have a fan question. This is from @melc_LC on Twitter. She says, as a director, what influenced you the most?
Just in that, I guess I'm not sure.
Overall.
You can take that probably wherever you want.
Well, you know, it's really two things. It's images and feelings. It's I do a fair amount of stills photography for myself. That's something that I've always had somewhat of a visual. I like to have a visual language, kind of an emotional visual language, and so to me, it is that great thing that the camera can do, that can tell that story. So that spatial, people in space. You know, it's combined. It's really a dance. It's words with bodies in space and movement. I mean, I know it sounds pretty. Now I'm getting kind of like you'd think that what was
You
in the
sound
cup
so
of water?
official. No. We're talking to an artiste right now.
I'm just telling you how this works. But
Of course.
But it was fun because when you direct theater, you are always the audience back here, and you have a tableau of something, and the art of that is that you see everything at all times, and light and movement changes, and sets can come down and can be changed, and the light can change a mood, and sound can come in, which is the other really critical thing to me is that combination. But you're back in one space, so your eyes are literally having to dart what gets taken. Now, when you're in film or television, the camera is doing it differently. Now it's much more intimate. It can be huge in scope, but it can come in right in here. So it's doing something else, and it's that dance of when is a moment in close, when is a moment wide. Sometimes something deeply personal can actually be a very wide frame, and someone can be very lonely. So Claude behind a thing going, as opposed to smash in on her face close, and we had that, you know, but when we put it together, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I found it said a bigger story to have at a wider frame.
It's more isolating.
She's smaller because she's broken. She's smaller in a thing with something in front of her that's locked her in.
Yeah.
Right.
Does that answer that
Absolutely.
question?
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing answer.
Sounds like she knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
She's a director.
She's got like
Bachelor or
gravitas.
something. I'm gonna jump back to Laith really quick because a couple people in the live chat have some questions. Jonathan, what was your favorite scene to shoot the entire series?
Great question.
Ooh, you know, I gotta say, and the first thing that comes to my mind, and because it was sort of the first really fun thing I got to do, was the kitchen fight in 107.
That was a great scene.
That was a lot of fun, and that was, I think that was your first episode.
That was my first episode,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and you were up in Toronto for the shoot of it, and it was the first time where I got to really engage with the period world, you know, where it was like in the set and we were moving through it, and you know there was the fight, and then you know we had to decide whether or not to to kill him or not, or if he was dead, and it was a very strong bonding moment between Greer and Laith, and it was so much fun getting to work with Selena and John, the stunt guy.
Stead.
Yeah,
That
John
was John
Stead.
Stead.
Yeah. And so I'd say that's the thing that jumps to my mind. But like I loved the the battle with the Red Knights. That was awesome.
That was
That
great.
was so cool. And then there's been so many, and some of the simple scenes as well. I again I love some of the stuff from the first episode. You know, that date that Selena and I have, that Greer and Laith have in the kitchen. You know, just sort of that casual fun.
But who would read it to you?
What?
That,
Yeah, exactly. All
the
that
banter
stuff. And we
yeah.
shot that whole the whole episode's worth of our stuff in one day. So it was
wow.
yeah. So it was sometimes that's
when
how
you
it works out.
saucily try to get the stain out of her dress.
That was I think that was a couple episodes later, but yeah, trying to help. Yeah. Just trying to get rid of these stains.
You're so thoughtful, you know.
So thoughtful.
It's
Well,
like I got the tricks.
Yeah, that was Trinity Riley who had that question.
Thank you, Trinity.
Yeah, thank you, Trinity. And
I want to parlay that over to you. What was your favorite? Over like scene to shoot.
As an actor,
Not everything's there.
I have to say, Whack and Diane felt really good. I am not gonna lie. That was Anna. She was great. That actress was amazing, and that was we took quite a bit of time to do that.
You savored it?
And they had stunt people, and she and I were like, no, we're doing this. Oh, no. So I just thought for Catherine, that was such a great moment. That was a great payoff, that moment.
Long time coming.
Yeah.
I look back and I have a lot of fun too. It was an episode when when Henry made love to his the Archduke of whatever.
Oh yeah, Dirty Laundry.
Dirty Laundry.
Yeah.
When I want to swear, but I guess I'm not allowed to. I don't know if I am.
Yeah, we didn't ask if we're allowed
Are we
to swear.
allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you can-
When he fucked the girl out the window. Let's just cut to the chase.
You
Yeah.
call that 0 to 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then he had to come and beg me to help him clean up his mess.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of fun, that scene.
That
But
was
I've
great.
been really lucky because also being in the Mercury tub when Narcisse
Yeah.
had to come.
I know you've gotten to
Like when he would
Oh,
come
when
to do
when you feed him his horse.
And that was another
my
scene.
God.
That's one of my.
I love that.
When I read that, I was
Yeah.
just like, oh,
Yes, Aramis's horse when I fed Narcisse's horse.
Again, she's a gangster. She
I
it's not the
did.
horse's
And then
head.
she-
She chops it up and
Yeah.
feeds it.
And screamed, "I love you."
yeah. It's because I love you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
So it's hard to choose.
What about directing? What was your favorite scene to direct this episode?
On this episode, well, definitely the one of the Johnny and Rosie on the horse was a great one. I have to say here, I love that.
call.
Good choice.
Yeah. I also the fight scene was a lot of fun.
It's one of the best fight scenes
Yeah,
we've had on the
it's
show.
really
I think.
good. It's really good.
I'm very excited about. I directed one more episode this season, which I can't really even tease too much about, but there is some stuff I'm very excited about in that episode too, with all three worlds that really come colliding into.
There's some iconic stuff in Negan's next episode.
That's
I would say.
so. But oh man, you know what? I'll tell you one of my favorite, and it's just a visual thing too, is Mary's party. You know, you have 80 people or 100 extras in there.
Yeah.
And when Ambassador Richards comes in and they're red, and Meredith, Mark Pollock, our designer, our costume designer, had this most beautiful, exquisite blue dress that Adelaide is in. We've never seen her in that color, but we also have all of these men for the Brits in red, and I just had this feeling of wanting this arrow pointing towards her. So I had a crane shot up high from the back, and they come in like a beacon pointing, and he's at the point of it is Richard's coming forward, and she's like, well, what do you want? But it's a very wide shot, which you always kind of fight for in, in television. Just for a moment, because it just tells a story before you're into that.
Well, it widens the scope,
And it also, that was what was so delightful and delicious playing in our world. And I would imagine getting to write in this world and certainly to act in this world is that you're in castles, for Christ's sake. You're in there's party, there's you have these extraordinary outfits, you have this lush rich scenery that you get to play with and shoot, and that's really that was an absolute gift.
Like, speaking of the costume design, which I think is like
phenomenal.
Give this woman an award because like what you guys
She did. She just won the Canadian Screen Award.
Oh my gosh!
Phenomenal.
So well deserved. Shout out to Meredith because I follow her on Instagram and I'm just like,
no, Meredith's work is extraordinary.
Yeah.
What has been one of your favorite? Because you get to wear exquisite things. What has been one of your like most memorable things that you've worn?
One of them was actually, which was a really fun outfit. It was when Bash tried to whack me.
That's a great scene.
Out that I'd whacked his mother. So he had a little. There were some issues, but if you're gonna be whacked or attempted, you better look damn good. Which Meredith made me look. So I had these like long, these incredibly long sleeves, and I'd been hiding my neck because Christoph and I had been getting into some jiggy, a little bit of rough sex play had been happening. So I was hiding the bruises on my neck. So she'd had this really outrageous collar, which whatever,
There's a great shot in that episode at the very end of it for you when you're alone in the throne room after Claude and Charles have left.
Right.
And that dress just sort of like, she's just like this very lonely statue in the throne room.
I just got the most beautiful. They really dressed Catherine very powerfully, and there became a time when almost shoulders sort of became a bit militaristic. They would kind of build things out, and there would always be coats, sort of long cloaks and coats on top of dresses for Catherine. It became very signature.
Well,
Elizabeth starts to take
almost
over some of that too. Elizabeth starts to look more. Whereas Mary sometimes is softer, and she's got more romantic. I'm the general.
The costumes have sort of evolved with the series. It seemed, there was I think Laurie, our creator and showrunner, I think in like the first season was more of felt more like a contemporary mishmash between contemporary styles and period. Yeah. And now what's been kind of cool is watching this show kind of more from this, almost like this origin story of Mary. And in now fourth season, we're kind of catching up to the history that everybody knows. And so the costumes and the story, like everything's sort of clicking into place of what we understand this time period to be a little bit more. But
and Adelaide's costumes too, and the sets in Scotland, you'll see more and more of them this season, are so beautiful, those Scottish sets. And the color tones that she puts them in, it's really fun because every set and everybody's costumes really is different, reflective of those countries and of the time. They're very succinct and different.
Well, and it's crazy. I mean, every season she basically got a whole new world, a whole new country to have to capture and explore and all that, and for art, as well for the art department. And so, it was a show that exponentially grew season to season, and finding that balance and juggling it back and forth. I think they all did a great job.
And I think this is one of our strongest seasons too, season 4. It's just there's just really wonderful players.
I think I'm excited for people to, what's nice right now is that you have to wait a week at a time to digest it because we're airing, but I am looking forward to people binging the season later because I do think it builds in such a great way, and
I look forward to binging the entire series. I feel like as this season comes to a close, I will probably go back and rewatch everything before we kind of wrap the after show up and everything, just because I think it'll be a fun journey to be able to talk about kind of everything. So we'll have to have all you guys back once it's all said and done, and we can talk about everything.
And it's amazing because I had gone back as I'm sort of looking at scenes to pull for my reels. I can't believe how much we did in this show. How
Oh
many
my goodness.
episodes were there? 74?
I think 74, 78.
74, 78, some,
It would be 22, 22, 18,
18.
16. Someone with a calculator can put those
44,
together. But,
Yeah, you guys. I mean, because every
Uh,
season, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's still more Reign episodes.
Yeah.
Yes, like this
Yeah.
is so exciting because
Because
don't
then
know how
I
you
go
guys did
back
it.
and it's like, oh my god, I forgot that happened in the
Yeah.
castle. Oh my god, I tried to kill Mary in a bathtub. I forgot that. What?
How
And
many
then
times?
Clarissa,
Yes.
it's like my
Oh
love
my God,
child
Clarissa!
with,
Yeah.
with
Crazy
the guy with the
Clarissa.
birthmark that
Yeah,
Henry
Inquisition.
finds out, the
Oh, that-
Inquisition, and then he goes to kill him, and it was
Oh my gosh,
So
Henry.
Drew,
Yeah.
we haven't seen a lot of the mystical stuff in the writing.
I wondered if we get this question.
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm very... I try not to be spoilerific in any way, shape, or form, but I will
Right.
say that, we had a hint of the occult this season with Charles, and
Right.
that was sort of disproven, but we might see something else, and it's awesome. Really, I think it's pretty... I don't want to say too much about it, but it's in an episode... I can't say anymore.
You can't say anymore.
Oh my
I
god.
thought it was
I
pretty.
know.
I thought it was pretty cool. At least.
oh yeah,
you know.
it's pretty out there.
I'm guessing it's
if
with
we're talking
Charles.
about the
Yeah.
same thing.
I
think
actually
so.
don't know
Yes.
if I even know about
I don't think Yeah, it's just, there's just some shenanigans. It's funny. It's like you guys. I do think the season's sort of almost cut in half in a weird way because there's so many characters you haven't met yet that are coming.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And there's so much that's going to happen that's going to change just the entire dynamic structure
Yeah.
within these courts. So
Okay.
Question, and I don't know if you're allowed to answer this, but
no.
I've just been curious because, like, obviously, like, the history buff in me, I know kind of where Mary's story goes in history. And are we going to go, because I feel like you're going to be fast forwarding a lot if you go all the way to the end of her life by the end of this
20
season.
years to
Yeah.
2020.
Well, listen,
Like-
we did get canceled. So all I can say is that there's some things. I don't know. I don't know why.
Okay, I don't
Listen,
wanna
all
get
we
you in
know-
trouble. I don't
all we
wanna get
know
you in
is
trouble.
that obviously there is a lot of her life that still has to be led,
Right.
and I think that the show tries to tackle whatever pieces of that it can, with the
Yeah.
remaining time that it has left.
I'm really looking forward to the
Very
fan fiction.
diplomatic.
Yes.
Nicely
This
done.
This is why he's
Nicely
here.
done, Johnny.
I think there will be room for people to sort of fill in things.
Okay.
Yeah,
And there's already people doing Reign fan fiction right now, so I'm excited
fan
about
fiction.
what's going to be like in,
Oh
in
yes,
a few
tell
months.
me what happens.
Yeah,
with
tell us all.
Faith.
Yes.
Love it.
everybody.
All right, so we got to get to England. Just touch on
Yep.
England.
Let's touch on
Yes,
England
let's
really
touch
quick
on
because
England.
a lot happened.
A lot happened. So we see Elizabeth and Gideon, poor Gideon's
Oh,
daughter.
Agatha.
Yes, Agatha. I liked this episode seeing Elizabeth's soft side, seeing that she has that sympathy and really trying to help Gideon.
Right.
What, in trying to capture their relationship, what was kind of like your goal behind that?
I think it's great what you just said, because that is what we want from Elizabeth. Isn't just, again, there's nobody's really black or white in terms of there being a good guy, bad guy in a way. I mean, maybe Narcisse, maybe.
I love Narcisse.
I know, we're back in French court. God damn, let's get back to
It's so hard not to talk about it.
No, I mean, I think I loved working with Rachel, and it's really, and I'm really excited again with the next episode that I directed with Rachel and her journey on that, because she's also got these huge pressures on her, but it is really important to with Gideon, and Ben is just a delight and so much fun, and he's had his heart broken by Mary. He was prepared to do something for her, and Mary's made a call. She made a choice, but with Rachel, she is so playful and so much fun, and I think it is important because you need to care. That's what's interesting again about this show, that you actually, in a different world, in a different things, perhaps they could be leaders, right? But it's very precarious, the power structure.
Yeah.
And so she's a bad guy you also want to love.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I think so much of her story in life, and especially on the show, is about all these larger than life issues that she's having to deal with, and that huge pressure and weight. And so seeing the intimacy and compassion she shows in this very personal, intimate and complicated relationship is so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great line too. You know, he said when she says about friends, and he says, "Oh, is that what we are now?"
Yeah,
And he
right.
calls her on that because we've already set up that Gideon had seduced Elizabeth years before when we first saw Gideon in the tower. And he was
Yeah.
very cocky, and she said, basically, do what you do best. You know, break her heart or make her fall in love with you because she knows what he's good at. So now they're both in very different positions. And when she says that and he calls her on that. We're friends, and she's like, well, I don't have many. And then she says, any. She's a very, very lonely lady.
Yeah.
And that's also really, to think about that, to be the most powerful, one of the most powerful people in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as a woman on top of it, and she has no friends.
Sounds like that's
She has
sorta
no
how
one who
is.
who she can trust, who has her back. And so these two people are now circling around each other. I don't know what's gonna happen.
Can I ask what Agatha
Probably
has? What does Agatha have?
we know that it's not curable by blue stained flowers.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we
Yeah, I mean, we don't name it. We looked
Okay.
at some different things like tuberculosis and things like that when we were doing research for symptoms, but we don't say what it is. But you know,
And there were things that were around that time. They were plagues because
Right.
the Black Plague or the Black Death, I think as it was called, was not fully eradicated. It would come in waves and could come
We
and
beat it in
wipe
about 2
you
episodes.
out. You know, it can come and go. So that time, things life is pretty precarious.
it is.
God,
You know,
it's
Laurie had
so
always said
fragile.
that she wanted to do. We didn't totally do this, but it's just, you know, back then if you get a paper cut, a week later you could be dead because there's no medicine.
Infection.
There's infections. Just things. Life is really fragile. I mean, even especially with women having to get through childbirth is
yeah.
Oh my God,
it's
absolutely.
major high stakes. So, it's I really think the work that Ben and Rachel did this year is really good, and you are seeing this. You're seeing this compassionate side. You're seeing this human side, but you're also seeing all this fear that both of these queens have in 2 different countries, and
Of course.
we can see what they can't, and it's really kind of heartbreaking. So.
Well, and we see so much of what we think their relationship could have been like if there wasn't this rivalry just built into the framework of it, you know, and how much respect and appreciation and how much they might have been able to accomplish together.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of fun because it's a bit of an echo of what Francis used to talk about in the first season a lot, because he had this sort of thing about you having to protect your country over your heart.
Love is irrelevant.
You know, he would say that a lot, and he knew that he had a duty of something beyond which his half brother Bash didn't have. He could love fully and do things, and Francis always had to think with another mind, and that's really what Elizabeth and Mary are both in
Absolutely.
that position.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
Do you think Catherine's in that position?
I think, yeah. Well, I think Catherine was in a very different position because she didn't have the right to title. She was not. She was, you know, a mercantile family that was basically
Wed into it.
wed into something, and was on her head was on the chopping block literally or several times. And when she was younger, when she wasn't producing an heir fast enough, they were ready to get rid of her. She was very clever early on and strategically had aligned herself with Henry's father, Francis I. And basically there, as I was reading about Catherine, and when it was looking like she wasn't producing an heir, she threw herself at the feet of the older king and said, I will be your chambermaid, I will scrub your toilets, I will do anything. Please do not kill me and don't send me back. And he took pity on her and stayed, and then something switched and she started to produce children. And she then realized she had no power, nothing, if she didn't have heirs, male heirs or female heirs that she could marry off. And that her power, although she really, even historically, was very savvy on the politics of the day and knew it, she was always having to do it through the channels of other people because she didn't have the right. And that's why she tried to secure the regency for herself when her children were young, because she actually knew what she was doing. She was very
She
smart.
had a lot of pressure on her too. I mean, we Narcisse has sort of absorbed a lot of the role that the Guises played out in history, but the Guises were incredibly like mafia-like powerful political figures at court, and they were really trying to run France around, and they were men. So you had that going on, and then all this religious violence constantly. She gets some bad raps in history, but she worked really hard to create some peace treaties beyond.
She did actually, and she did, and she was actually in truth open to the occult more. She was. There were people that she loved who were Protestants. I think her sister-in-law or Navarre. Whatever. So she was actually trying not to be a hard line between Protestants and Catholics. And there was a series of things that basically there was a fight in that time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
she didn't have the leniency.
France as a country was very at the beginning of it all. It was much more open, and it was what was happening with the Cathars in Languedoc and in the 1200s that ended up spawning what I think it was I can't remember. I can't remember which pope it was, but he ended up creating this whole religious war and trying to unify the Vatican as a state and as an empire, to quell that religious uprising in France. So I think that it makes a lot of sense that she was part of that as well.
Yeah. So so she's I always just loved playing her because I had a lot of empathy.
What was
for
your
her.
favorite part of playing her? Like, what was that one quality that you just gravitated to about her?
Well, I loved playing it. It's a dangerous thing to have in life is righteousness, because I think when she did terrible things, she didn't do them because she was just bored or
Right.
she wasn't malevolent. She actually did things because she thought she was right, which is which to me makes her even more dangerous because there was a passion behind it and was her fierce loyalty to her children, which was so beautifully set up in the pilot with her son. And basically, you already know the marriage is disastrous. She's been having to basically share her husband, which is she's a character that had humiliation rubbed in her face from the first scene you see her in. And she's puts her backing behind her son. And even when it makes her son uncomfortable. So I remember the first day I met Toby, and he was like, this young 20, was he even 20? He was in Ireland.
20, 21.
And I have a son similar age, and I basically it was like, just get ready. I'm going to be touching you a lot, Toby. I'm an Italian mother. Are you kidding me? I'm going to be kissing you. I'm going to be touching you. I'm going to be fixing your coat. I'm going to be like, you are my baby. And he was like, go on it. Because I thought, because she's living through him.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's fun. I mean, that stuff is just delicious to play.
And now through Charles, who, oh my God,
A little harder.
I can't wait
but
to
it's
see
great.
where that goes.
It's so great because it's the show has a memory. There's a history within the show. There's a real history and there's a history of the show. And what's so great is, Francis's absence is just deafening. It's always there. It's this big waking hole. And what's great about what Spencer does to that part is that you just feel that he can never be his brother.
I love Spencer as an actor, and
awesome.
and Charles as a character because I think that is true, and he's also so beautiful, Spencer too. And
Even in Blood.
even when he's wearing a goatee, even when he's got his blood goatee on. But he's but he's got those blue eyes too, like his brother, and he's in this just terrible situation where he's inherited something that he didn't want. He didn't. And he's not the. We've gone through all things with Charles, where he's been the good guy and then he's been the bad guy.
Every time he tries to be, something ends up happening. He was trying so hard to be the good guy until he was, taken by the Red Knights, and it was something that changed him forever. And
then Mummy slaps him across the face. But which is what I loved about that character. He's like, I don't want to do this, and he's having this big painful moment, and Mum just says, "What?" And she just slaps him across the face, which is terrible. But in her mind, it's like, you can't be weak.
Well, also everything she's had to do to find power, and he wants to toss it.
No, that's not going to work for Catherine.
Right.
One of my favorite lines.
She'll slap you and then she'll make you some soup. You know what I mean? Come on.
Exactly.
One of my favorite Catherine lines, I think it was from 310, the first one that you directed, where you come into Mary and you're just like, I am regent.
Because she wants the power for herself and has no right to that power. That's what is so twisted and fun about
Well, she
her.
believes she's the best person to have that
Well,
power.
she was.
She is.
She is, but she's got to play the game, and the game
She's
is
gotta play
keep
the
the
game.
sun in place, or else there's nothing.
I don't know if this is ever going to happen, but I will. There's even if I beg you for it to happen. I just really.
It's already done. It's already done.
I really, really hope we have a scene where we get to see, because I love the scenes with you and Elizabeth. I think those were so great. But if we can see a scene with all three queens.
Oh, yes. That would be amazing.
I don't know if there's a way. It's going to have to be very meticulous writing to get all three of those women in the same
History,
spot.
I don't think allowed
Yeah,
that.
history did not allow that at all.
Yeah.
But it would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
Yes.
To see all three.
Absolutely.
I don't even know what would happen.
I don't either.
I don't even know what would
I feel like the
happen.
world would just explode.
Yeah.
Dreams. We should have had
Dream sequence.
All right, let's get to some some fan questions. We had a whole bunch of fans
We do.
tweet into us.
I wonder why that is.
I know. I wonder why. And they came up with some really good questions.
They
so,
did. Well,
yeah.
first of all, just because I want to get into, I want to make sure you guys can pitch whatever you're working on next before we kind of get deeper into all these questions. What are you guys up to next now that Reign is...
Not sure what's happening on the acting front, doing some stuff on the other side of the camera, some producing. I had a short film called 5 Films About Technology that premiered at TIFF and then went to Sundance, and we sold it internationally, and it'll be popping up in some crazy places, and it'll be screening with Neon Films Colossal in theaters across America. So.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You should have gone last.
I know.
I'm developing my own projects now, my own scripts for my own shows. So
Nice.
Awesome.
And I'm auditioning for those shows.
And yeah, what are they, Drew? Because I need to be auditioning for those.
Just cut the camera. We'll have a little talk.
I'm also, been auditioning out there back in the world, and also further meeting with different showrunners for different shows to direct. So I have a series of meetings that I'm
Nice.
I can't say anything yet until everything's on the dotted line. But also creating stuff and creating. There's a show that my daughter is been writing and working on creating for myself, her, and my mother, who's an actress.
Oh wow.
So I'll just
amazing.
tease
Lila
that
played
one.
Greer's sister on the show.
Yeah, and my daughter Lila's in the Netflix series Frontier. She plays a character named Clena. So
We'll be looking out for that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. All right, we're going to get to fan questions.
Another fan question.
Huh?
Oh, that was a fan question.
Oh, yeah. It was a fan question. So I guess this could be for Megan or Drew. This is from Isi Akasaru on Twitter. Yeah. What can we expect from Catherine and Narcisse in season 4? Friends, lovers? Possibly? We got a lot of those questions.
yeah. Well, definitely. We go back and forth. Narcisse has got a really interesting journey he's going to go on his own, because he's obviously, his heart is still
Destroyed.
was hey
I mean, obviously the real love of his life is Catherine. Of course, sorry. Lola was a distant second,
you
clearly.
know what?
Megan.
Catherine doesn't have a lot of patience for Narcisse's broken heart. I'm not gonna lie. I know that get over her. Get back to the castle and help me run this country.
Yeah.
So we kind of have a love-hate thing going on.
It's really, I mean, it's just, they're great together, and there is no shortage of Catherine and Narcisse the rest of the season. I mean, as you've seen, they are really trying to hold together a ship with a lot of leaks, so there's a lot to be done and a lot of opportunities that'll pop up.
I do have to just plug that scene with Narcisse and Anastasia, who played Lisa in when she's talking about the art that she confiscated, and I was so much fun having Craig, and I was like, seduce her. Let's see what would happen, and then I was like with Lisa, and it feels kind of good. He's got you, So all of a sudden that he gets her, so that when she realizes that he was tricking her, now you've really crossed a line with her. Totally. You don't make a fool of her. She doesn't.
They definitely had a deep anti-Protestant kink that they shared that could have been really spicy, but
I know,
they could have burned so many homes and villages down together.
They could have. You can just see
many
it.
videos.
Yeah, that was working for her.
So I know, Jonathan, you kind of said that you were happy with the way your character went out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you happy with Catherine's end?
Great question.
Oh, no. Only because I didn't want it to end. So really, that's a tough question, because I just, and I still really think, I think there's something else there too. I just love French sport.
Spin-off.
Come on, come on. We'd all watch it.
How many more sons does Catherine have that, we could,
There's a lot of kids.
She's got some good daughters too. She's
And
got
make more.
it's a juicy, dark time. There's some. So I think it was just a hard one to let go of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this one I'm going to actually ask you, Jonathan. What would
Terrified.
you do if you were Claude or Luke or Leith?
What
in that situation. What would be your solution to that problem?
You don't want to admit to murder on television. I would have killed a man.
Murder. I think it's interesting. You know, I got to live through this guy's life for 4 years, and to see and to have to be victim to all of those different circumstances. And I think I completely understand, you know, where the decision that he made. So part of me thinks I would do what he did. You know, part of me thinks I would also just self-flagellate and put up with whatever I had to be with the woman I loved, you know. So I think probably one of the two, you know, depending upon how disciplined I could be in the moment.
All right.
So this
One
is
more?
yeah, I have one more.
Okay.
This is for our @ not done abusing forever # forever Reign. Anyways, I don't know how Twitter works, but you guys, best on-set memory, most fun, I guess, memory that you have from being on set behind the scenes, not like on scenes, and all three of you can answer this.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, it's early on. I mean, only because there was one moment. It was Alan Van Sprang and Rossif and myself, and it was in Dirty Laundry, and we had, you know, done everything, and we were about to walk into the big scene to make up this big lie to get the thing resolved, and all of a sudden Nostradamus literally comes around a corner and has to drop a little bomb about something. He has to tell us this information. So we shot him first, and he had this list of lines, and he got it out. It was fine. Came around to shoot Alan and I, and every time Rossif opened his mouth, he just got hysterical giggles. He could not get the words out. But the camera wasn't on him. The camera was on Alan and I. So he would just start and he would start shaking, and it was absolutely contagious. Like, Alan and I lost it, hysterical, just the tears. When you get those kind of giggles or your head feels like it's going to explode, and everyone else is looking at you like they have no idea why it's funny. It's not, you know, you're in your own world, but it was pretty delicious.
Mine would probably be, you know, on a handful of occasions I got to fly up to set because we would write the show here in LA and produce it in Toronto. We also would shoot in Ireland. And so I got to go up to Ireland for the end of season 3 because we shot the last pieces of the last 3 episodes, 16, 17, 18 in Ireland, and getting to go up there, and it really felt like we weren't making a television show. It was so stunning, so beautiful. I fell in love with Dublin, and also even just the background actors that would show up, who were like the Irish background actors. They had these beautiful beards. I guess they were all working on Vikings, and, you know. But there was you really felt like you were transported. And I felt that, I mean, listen, the sets in Toronto were beautiful as well, but there was something like you would just be sitting there watching for distance, and these people would walk into the frame, just pick up a piece of wood, or just, you really felt like you were kind of halfway in reality and halfway in the past. And I felt tremendously grateful to, I mean, I think the show is amazing, and I'm really proud of being a part of it, but just even that, just to be in a place like that just felt like bigger than any television show could ever feel. It's amazing. And then obviously anything involving these people who are at the table.
You know, I think one of the most sort of special moments is I happened to be in Toronto for the last day of filming, and you know, I was able to go to the set and sort of be there as we ended it all, and there was a bunch of us that were done. I mean, we were wrapped, and memories, you know, it was sort of a whole combination of things. You know, Meredith from Wardrobe, you know, Wardrobe was wrapped at that point, so she just put all of us in like furs and crowns and jewels, and we were sort of bouncing around the studio, and then we went out to the back lot.
We were drinking a lot of champagne.
And just sort of, you know, but getting to take in the set and be in there and sort of say goodbye to it, and then being there for the ending, and sort of having everyone just have this really special feeling. I think that, you know, what we do is the purest form of creative collaboration that I know, and I think that that's why rap parties and raps are so special, because there's just this shared thing that we couldn't have done it without any of the other people involved, and it's just so beautiful, and in that moment you just feel the bigness of it, and so it was really special.
Awesome. We love it. All right,
I don't want it to end.
I know, it's ending soon. Do you want to do predictions really quick?
Let's do predictions really quick, and then we'll just watch
I'll just tell,
exactly. We're going to be eyeing them from okay. All right, so I predict that there's something going on with James in Scotland.
Absolutely.
Something with the Watchmen and James. I think he's kind of conniving behind Mary's back.
You think he's the Watchman?
I don't know. I don't think he's a watchman. I think
Bash is the watchman.
Oh, yeah. Where is Bash, by the way?
He's with the druids. Hello.
North Hollywood.
It could be Bash.
I think
It could be
Bash is the watchman.
So that's my prediction. What's yours?
Besides that, Bash is the watchman. Lord, for some reason, I think Greer's gonna go. I think Mary has lost and now that I feel like the only reason Greer was still, I feel like Mary's gonna lose all of her ladies before she loses her life. So I think Greer's gonna go, and I don't want her to go. But as you guys showed me, is like even mothers are not safe.
No one's safe on
Yeah,
Reign.
nobody is.
So
That was the
you
cutest
killed
baby in
you
this
killed
episode.
Lola, and that was absolutely
Yeah, you did.
That was
You killed Lola,
Yeah.
and that was devastating. So I think before the end of the season, I think Greer's gonna go, and it's gonna be really sad unless Laith can come in and save the day. But
we already know.
but he's already told me he's not gonna Jon Snow us again.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just want to thank you guys.
Yeah,
for
thank you.
coming
Thank
in.
you.
Seriously, it's been a treat for us. It's been a treat for the fans.
And yeah, when all this is said and done, if you guys want to try to get the whole cast together, we can do a big round table with everybody and talk about the whole series. We are so
I'm up for it.
down.
I'm up for it.
We can find a great space and do it.
Cool.
And do
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
Yeah.
great
You're
idea.
welcome back anytime.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
your
much.
support of our show.
Absolutely. So until we see you guys again on all your future projects, where can the good people follow you?
They can follow me on Instagram. That's my main one that I'm on, which is Meg_follows.
Awesome.
They can't follow me.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at JONNYKANYON, Johnny Canyon.
Abs.
Yeah.
And what about you,
Oh,
Keetin? Miss
you
Keetin?
guys can follow me at Keetin Marchi all over the interwebs.
Yeah, and you guys can follow me at Alina Vision, and that's Vision with 2 S's, all over the web. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Once again, thanks to our guests, and we'll see you guys next week. Be sure to comment, tweet at us, tweet at them, keep in touch, and yeah.
And I know we didn't do Castle Corner,
Yes.
but that's just because we
I
got too
think-
caught up
This
talking
is,
about
Listen,
yes.
we are
This is
Castle Corner.
Exactly. You are Castle Corner.
We are Castle Corner.
Don't hate us. Phil's gonna scold me
Yeah.
next week.
They're gonna-
I was like, let's not do it. Anyway, see you
All right,
next
we'll see
week.
you.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.